everyone. Now is not the time to have the giggles.
Yes, it is.
Hi, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the Law Mistress channel. We are going live with our game, or our second part of our game, A Song to Fix What's Wrong, which is going to be a game of Follow Me Down, a duets game, because I am currently spotlighting duets game, or I'm trying to play more of them. I don't think that they're played enough on actual plays and things like that, so I'm trying to kind of play more of them where it's just two people playing. It's been really fun so far. So that you all know, Follow Me Down is by Drowning Moon Studios. It is a game that is based around the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice. And if you don't know the story of that myth, well, you might get a little bit of an idea watching us today, because we're kind of doing a retelling of it. But I would advise that you go and read it yourself, because it's probably it's my favourite myth. It's my favourite Greek myth. Do you have a favourite Greek myth, Jen?
Favorite Greek myth? That's a hard one.
Is it the same one?
No. I think it actually might be Icarus.
Oh, that's a good one as well. That's
what about
an
you?
Excellent one. It is Orpheus and Eurydice. It's just something, I don't know. It's just something about the sadness of it, I guess.
Or is it because you're a theater nerd?
Could be that too. Could definitely be that. What would that have to do with anything? It's got a bit of everything in it. It's got love, it's got drama, it's got death, it's got sadness, so tragedy. That's a Greek theatre term. And and it's got it's got a little bit of everything in it. I think that's why I like it. I always like stories that have bits of everything in it. Yes, so it is a Powered by the Apocalypse duets game by Drowning Moon Studios, and we will be weaving our sort of own interpretation of the underworld, because primarily it is a tale of two lovers separated by death, and one cannot stand it, so heads down to go to the underworld and go and get their lover back. So, let me introduce myself. I'm Kat, otherwise known as the Law Mistress on the internet, Law Mistress 93 on pretty much all social media. I'm a writer, editor, actual play streamer. That one's a little bit more recent consistently. And especially on this channel, I reached affiliate in January, which I was exceptionally proud of, and things keep going up. So I'm very, very excited to have so many people that enjoy my content. And I'm not alone here today, as you can see. I am joined for our second part by the lovely Jen. Jen, please introduce yourself and tell us who you are. Tell us your pronouns. Mine are she, her. And tell us who you will be playing, or what playbook you are playing today.
Nah, don't feel like it.
Right, okay, fine. I can see you up to that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hello, friends. I am Jen, known as Jen Burb on the internet, and occasionally as Burb. I will be playing your friendly local Orpheus today, aka Cyril, as we have slightly modernized our Orpheus and Eurydice tale. And I am a little bit distracted by a cat that is licking my hand, so, you know.
Well, that's fair enough. My cat has... She's currently sitting out on the landing in the darkness. All I can see are her eyes. And
terrifying!
I've never seen her look so disappointed in me. Come here, then.
Which, for any of y'all who have not seen that cat, the phrase "I have never seen her look more disappointed" is really impressive.
That's impressive. Yeah. Are you coming up? You can come up and have your moment if you like. Cool. I will be playing. That means the Eurydice playbook. Or Kaylee is the name of my character, Cyril and Kaylee. The Tale of Cyril and Kaylee. And before we get into it, I just want to quickly go over safety stuff. If you do know the original tale, you might be aware that some of the themes are, of course, what I've already talked about. There's a bit of loss, there's some grief, there's some death of a loved one, troubled relationships, regret, guilt. Those are the kind of themes that you tend to see coming up. Also, there's a lot of like fighting monsters and sort of the usual Greek myth stuff. That stuff we might be reinterpreting a little bit, but some of it we might not be. So just be aware that there might be some troubling themes come up, and if anything, as you're listening, feels like something that you're not particularly comfy with, then thank you so much for joining us, but we would really rather you go and protect your own headspace and find a different stream to enjoy. So with that being said, let's get into it, I suppose. When we last left off, Cyril, our Orpheus, had woken up after a less than romantic night that Cyril might have been expecting. He and Kaylee have been going through some troubles in their relationship, but they had decided to go off on a sort of small holiday together to sort of mark an anniversary, and go and see a particular celestial event, like a meteor shower, I think it was, wasn't it? They got into an argument. Kaylee did what Kaylee usually does and went off for a walk to try and clear her head. And normally she comes back within 10 minutes. And normally, if she were to call Cyril, he would answer the phone. But neither of those things ended up happening. And Orpheus, or Cyril, woke up and found that Kaylee had not yet returned back to the campsite. So Orpheus is now on a jolly good adventure trying to find Kaylee. Kaylee has also found themselves in a slightly strange place because the campsite and the surrounding area is not quite how either of them remember it or expect it to be. So, with that in mind, Cyril, you have just got away from the boatman.
And there are now there's now very good boys.
Yes, minus a finger. You are minus a finger. You
Minus
have
finger
taken
plus heads.
right. I mean, you do have the goodest boy on your side, yes. So Cyril is currently on the back of a sort of large dog-like, but also like hyena-like type creature. It's got a bit of a mix of both. It seems to have some strange ability of like mimicking, or is able to mimic human voices. It's mimicked Kaylee, and it has actually mimicked Cyril himself. So it does seem to have like this ability, and it has 3 heads. So definitely at this point, I think Cyril is very aware that we're not
in Kansas anymore.
We're not in Kansas anymore. And something has gone quite drastically wrong. But of course, the priority and the mission is still to find Kaylee. You are on the back of this creature. The boatman has taken one of your fingers. You have taken 2 harm. And what that means mechanically is that you are starting to feel a bit frustrated, maybe a bit irritable, or sort of frightened, or your nerves are on edge, let's say.
Honestly, understandable. Like, I just nearly got vored by this terrifying boatman, and then he took a finger. Like, it's been a rough day.
It has. Yeah, it has been a pretty rough day so far.
Also, I can't find my damn girlfriend.
Yeah. And that as well, yeah. Not even answering the phone. Goodness sake. So you are on the back of this creature, and you're traveling sort of alongside this river, but you are kind of like winding off in a slightly different direction. I think I mentioned just before, last time we tried this, I had a massive coughing fit. I think I mentioned that you sort of noticed that the river sort of forked off into two different directions, and you can definitely see that the boatman was probably going to take you based on where like the path of the boat was kind of in the river, the side of the river that he was traveling in. He's probably going to take you off in one direction, which is towards this sort of like weird mist, but you are taken off in a different direction by this creature. You sort of fork off to the right rather than to the left, and here the water starts to get a bit choppier. It starts to get rougher. This doesn't seem to perturb the beast. Eventually, after quite some time, like you'll notice as well that this creature, it kind of stops at points, like it slows down, stops, sniffs the ground, seems to be on the hunt for something, it has a direction, but it's following it based on not on a sort of intelligent knowledge of where it's going. It's more kind of like it's tracking more than anything. It's kind of behaving a bit like that, and every so often you kind of hear this low whistle, which sort of causes the creature to like perk its ears up and go again, sort of thing. And you will notice this whistle because, as I've mentioned previously, this place is very quiet, unnervingly so. And the only sound you could hear before was sort of the sound of the river, which was quite calm, but there was definitely a current to it. Now it's getting rougher and rougher. Soon, a new sound enters the fray as you the river sort of starts to widen out into this large expanse of water that you can kind of see as far as the eye can see, basically. And the colors of the water, where they were sort of like this weird sort of ethereal, they were picking up on slight strains of pinks and purples and like a bit odd. Now that they're getting choppier, the colors are getting way more vivid, and it's almost like looking like at a river of paint, sort of like bright purples and oranges, and a water that's kind of almost reflecting a sunset, but there is no sunset in the sky. In fact, there is no real anything in the sky other than these dark swirling purple clouds, and this sound that enters is the sound of a rumble of thunder. The creature slows and pulls up along sort of like a shore next to what looks like a bridge that sort of goes out over this expanse of water and seems to go again as far as the eye can see, and it stops and kneels. And this whistle you could hear before, it has a slightly different pitch to it this time, but it is a very sharp whistle, and this creature just sort of almost stops and lets you down and doesn't seem to want to move anymore.
Okay. Then I will essentially just hop off of it and give each of its heads a nice little pat and say thank you. And
it kind of sticks its tongue out and pants and leans into your fuss.
I will call him a very good boys, and I will tell him to go and get his treats.
The moment that you are off, it gives you one sort of nudge towards this structure, and you can see now it's kind of like a stone bridge. There's no railings as such. It's just like a kind of like endless steps, but when you're looking at it, it looks like it kind of goes forward rather than particularly high. It is it's white, but like very like oh my goodness, what's the white stone? like alabaster white, like very white,
like marble
marble.
limestone-ish.
Yeah, that's it. And then the occasional like block of like very granite black, and
pomegranate.
Don't you start this. Don't start this. And it seems to just kind of go, like I said, as far as I can see, there's no pillars of support or anything kind of sticking out of the water. It defies all laws of gravelty. Gravelty. No, I just made an accidental pomegranate. Okay. Anyway, it defies all laws of gravity. And yeah, it stretches out, and this creature kind of like butts you towards it. And then it sort of starts to back away, and heads off into the undergrowth.
And I just kind of wave after it. Thanks. It's a dog's. And I will go ahead and first I will take a look at this strange gravelty defying structure. And I can't help you there. And kind of examine it for a minute. Get a feel for it. Consider calling OSHA. And then I think I will put 1 foot on it. Just a quick test to make sure it's not...
Test its sturdiness.
Yeah.
You do find when you put a foot on it, it sinks. But not like in any kind of violent way. It's not like immediately. It sort of sinks very slowly. And when you take your foot off, it rises again. But I'd say it sinks nothing more than a few inches down and then back up again.
And I think I kind of mutter, okay, this makes absolutely no sense, which somehow makes all of the sense. And I'm going to put the rest of my weight on it, and just take a single step onto it.
When you put your entire weight on it, the sort of, and it's very piercing because the place is so quiet, apart from this occasional rumble of thunder and the sound of the water. This sound reverberates around, and it is piercing, and it is wrong, out of tune, but it is a single piano note.
And there is definitely a brief thought that runs through my head of, good God, where's the tuner?
Yeah, it's very out of tune. It's like listening to a piano that no one has tuned for 50 years.
Oof. Okay. And I'm going to call out, okay, this is clearly a strange bridge of some sort. Where's the troll? Come on out, troll.
There's no denizen in sight, as it were, but I am going to put this as you begging for help in some way. Like, this is you kind of saying, like, what is this? Somebody
explain this shit to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would like you to roll with pathos.
Okay. Well, it's not a bad roll. It's simply a +0 roll. So let's see how this goes. Okay. It's a 9.
It's a 9. All right. So, you're kind of looking at this and you're asking where the troll is. at this point, a bit further on, a single one of these other steps, you watch it as it sinks down, as if someone has like pressed very hard on it all of a sudden. And the note that comes out is much less discordant. It actually sounds like how you would expect it to sound. Like it sounds like a piano key, and you kind of watch this bridge. You kind of look at it, and you realize this is what this is. It looks exactly like a piano, a giant piano made of stone, because it's definitely a very sort of concretey feel beneath your feet. You find on a 7 to 9 they demand a favor in return for their aid. That might come later. So for now, you have been shown that there is a key a bit further ahead that seems to
Be happy.
And yeah, what are you going to do?
I'm going to make my way up the keys. I'm so sorry if I'm making this super granular and obnoxious. What key does the piano start on? I'm sorry.
Why would you do this to me? First of all?
I don't need a definite answer. The reason I ask is because I do want to make sure that as I am going up the piano, I am proceeding in a major key, not a minor key.
Right.
So the real question is, if it starts on a C, I can just take all the white ones, but but basically, I just want to make sure that I am proceeding in a manner that is supposed to end up being a major key, not a minor key.
Seeing as you passed, what I will say is that you would notice that the single I guess key, or the single sound that came out of the correct key was the first note of the song that you wrote for Kaylee.
Fantastic. Of course it's in G major then.
So it's in G major, of course.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
cool.
Yes.
Then I will walk up this piano stairway in a G major key to make sure that we keep the tune upbeat.
Okay. So you are basically attempting, I'm guessing in order to achieve this is going to take a fair amount of, like, you're not able to just walk on every plank. You're having to kind of jump across.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of athleticism. I am going to try and make it, I'm going to try and turn it into a little song.
All right. So you get to this first key, and you press down on it, and sure enough, the song that you're expecting, or the tune that you're expecting, comes out. And then you make your way to the next sort of G major, and you're trying to kind of keep this rhythm. Through the air, you begin to hear this, and it does sound like very discordant again, but it is the song that you wrote for Kaylee, but it is all wrong. It's all out of tune. It's like you can't find the rhythm is not right.
It's in a minor key.
Yeah. it's like someone took your song and tarnished it and made it horrible and broken and tainted, and it's not right. It needs fixing. It needs changing. But when you press down on that first key, one note of this entire song, and it's a long song that you wrote, fixes itself and comes out right. And you realize that the task ahead of you is to cross this. You need to fix this tune,
Oh god, there's a key change halfway through. It's gonna be awful.
It's gonna be awful. Yeah, but you kind of have an idea of what you're supposed to do. The other thing that you notice as you get sort of, I guess you continue to try to sort of jump across keys. A few keys in, you feel a sort of like tickle on your cheek, and this sort of wisp of thread sort of blows past you. And it seems to be coming from like the other side.
I feel like at first I go to like bat it away because I'm used to it being like, you know, some sort of bug. And then I kind of stop and I reach for it and I try and grab this little wisp.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if there's a thing, or whether you can just, I guess you can just grab it.
Okay. And like I do it carefully, not in the way that like people would like. So you know how like if you try and like snatch like a floating dandelion seed, if you go too fast, you'll never catch it, but you have to like actually approach it like pretty slowly and not disturb the air around it. That's how I'm gonna do it.
All right. I will say it's kind of like if you want to catch it, it is sort of following a path, but it's like the wind, because the wind is starting to pick up now around you, has kind of caught it. So where you're trying to catch it in front of you, it sort of keeps blowing off of the path and sort of into the air surrounding. So in order to catch it, you will need to take sort of a bit of a risk, as it were, to try to jump and grab it, because it's a little bit higher than you.
Am I proving my love?
Probably going to be proving your love, yes.
Okay.
So if you can roll with passion.
Okay. And passion is something that I am decently good at. Let's see how this goes. What could possibly go wrong, right? Right? Yeah, totally.
Right.
I'm gonna rock this. Get it? Because pomegranate and gravel tea. Except no, I'm not. It's an 8.
It's an 8.
It's
okay.
It's not
you
bad.
do succeed, right? So you're gonna get it. But you will stumble. So I need you to describe a time that your flaws led to strife with your partner. And then I will tell you what it costs for you to continue.
$3. So I think whenever I think of the less perfect moments of my relationship with Kaylee, it usually comes down to financial problems and the way that we think that we can get out of them. And this honestly isn't just one time. It has happened repeatedly, where Kaylee and I have sat down at the table to go over finances, go over budget, go over our monthly spending, and honestly usually end up in the negative. And inevitably it always ends in some level of contention where she would really like it if we both got conventional jobs, if we both were able to, even if it is not the most enjoyable source of income, to just go ahead and do what we need to do to get our paycheck. And I have always been of the opinion that my dedication to my art and my craft is an investment, and one that is worth pursuing. There has always been contention between the idea of pursuing my art, continuing to persevere in a career that is difficult to succeed in. I've always been very convinced that when it may take a while, but when it pays off, it will pay off.
Mm-hmm.
And Kaylee has never wanted to take that risk, and that has always been a source of strife. Mm-hmm. And perhaps it's idealism, or some sort of sunk cost fallacy. But it is definitely something that, despite my best efforts to ignore, is certainly a failing in realism.
Well, yeah. So I think that as you kind of go to reach for this, you spend a good period of time sort of chasing this thing. You're trying very hard to hit the correct keys, and you can hear this song is correcting itself as you go. And I think you get about quarter of the way through the song trying to grab onto this thread. Eventually, you go and you take a bit of a risk. And that's what this is kind of always about, risk taking, right? It's something that Kaylee is not very good at. Kaylee tries and tries and tries and says, like, we maybe even just take a few hours at another job or something like that.
She likes to play it safe.
And she likes to play it safe, and she does it. She likes that safety blanket, and that's something that you've like. You are a risk taker, but you have perhaps always felt awful about the fact that she doesn't feel that safety, and it's made you feel worse. She doesn't feel like you can provide that safety net, and so when she challenges you and asks you to support her or help her, that's maybe what you take it as, is like she doesn't trust in your music. She doesn't trust in the song anymore that she fell in love with. She fell in love with you and your love of music. And you are frustrated because you've taken too harm at this point. So you go to take that risk and you jump at an inopportune moment. And you do manage to grab onto this thread, but it causes you to stumble and land on the wrong key.
Oh God, not a flat.
The tune shifts back to the beginning, as it was discordant all the way through. You realize that this puzzle, you have to start over again, essentially. And this has been a recurring thing. How many times have you been sat at the piano at home trying to write music, and then somehow something about it just feels wrong, and then you have to start the whole process all over again? And normally it's after an argument with Kaylee.
This is so fucking relatable as a music student.
Yeah. You grab onto this thread, you have a look at it as it's kind of wrapped around you. It's almost like a kite string. It's like pulling sort of into the clouds almost, but in the direction of the end of this bridge that you still can't see the end of. And you realize what this is. This thread, it is a strand of Kaylee's scarf. The same one that she puts on every single time she goes for a walk because she can't take any more arguing with you. The one that she put on before she left the campsite. This is her scarf. This is the best lead that you have. So in this case, as much as it's caused frustration, in some ways it was worth the risk, because you now have a strand of something and you can see it kind of leading off into the distance, and the strand is kind of getting thicker and thicker and thicker as you get, and it sort of seems to in the distance be morphing into this scarf. So you know that you are going along the right direction, that if you finish this task, which you have to start again, but if you finish this task, you will end up with Kaylee's scarf. The other complication is, amongst all the discordant melody that you can now hear, which is almost overwhelmingly loud, listening to out of tune music is
it's frustrating,
exceptionally overwhelming,
especially for someone who really doesn't like out of tune, especially for a musician. Yes.
Yeah. It's awful. But alongside that, you hear a loud screech. Some kind of like bird-like creature. And you look up, and within the storm of this swirling purple cloud around you, you can see shapes, winged humanoid shapes, very small at the moment, but they are now starting to make their way towards you.
And kind of to no one in particular, I just say, oh, good. Now there's fucking harpies. Okay, fantastic, wonderful. And I am going to essentially... I am going to do the thing that I was never good at doing. I have always been someone who focuses on getting to where I need to be. I am going to focus more heavily on being careful on the way. There is a lot of instinct right now that is screaming at me to just try and beat these winged figures and try and get to where I'm going as fast as I possibly can. I'm going to take several deep breaths. I'm going to hear Kaylee's voice in my head saying, there is no point in getting somewhere if you fall on the way. Mm-hmm. Especially if you can't get back up. And I'm going to take a deep breath, and I'm going to take my time and be careful and avoid the instinct to just go for it.
All right. So, which move do you that you were doing here? I'm going to rule out recklessly flee.
Yes, that is specifically the opposite.
Specifically the opposite.
What I might do, I might try and adapt the song a little bit. Where there was one note, there might be a fifth or something like that. I'm going to be a little bit more careful. I'm going to use more anchor points, essentially to keep more of my limbs on this stairway / bridge. And I would like to stir the heart by essentially remixing this song a little bit.
So you are going to go further than just trying to recreate the tune.
Yes.
You are going to try to
improve on it.
Push out and say, it isn't just this tune anymore. It's more powerful than that.
Yes. And also it's more careful than that. It is more deliberate.
Yes. All right. So no more risk-taking then from Orpheus.
Well, for now at least.
This time around. I mean, it's a sort of risk, I guess. You do have flying birdie creatures flying towards you, and you're going, this is fine. Let me just take my time. But I do like that. Yes. Go to stir the heart then for me.
Oh, I'm good at poetry. Let's see how this goes. Watch me roll 2 1s. Okay, that's a 12.
A 12. That is
12.
Excellent. On a 10 plus, this, what you are fighting against, which feels like sort of this storm and these creatures coming out of it. And now, as they come closer, what you can hear, their screeches have become words, intertwined with this discordant, very wrong melody. It is not the words of Kaylee, which you might have been expecting, or other people who have ever doubted you. It is the words that are the voices inside your head, your own insecurities about your music, the things that have always, when you get to that point where you have to just sort of brush the sheet music off the table and start again, the things that have told you, no, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong. And that is what they are saying over and over again. But it is the things that you have heard yourself. It's what you say to yourself. And it's how you punish yourself for the fact that you don't feel that you can provide for Kaylee.
Right. It's like it's unoriginal, it's boring, no one's gonna want it.
no one's going to want it, and then I'm going to disappoint Kaylee because she's going to be right and she's going to say, you should have taken that job.
I told you
should
so.
have done this. Yeah. As you take this moment and you do what you're about to do, you tell me, because that's what it is, right? You tell me how you push back against that.
I think they quiet. Not so much that they are not there, but instead of the way that they are moving right now, instead of the way that they are constantly pervading my mind, I think I do honestly what the move says. I think it's almost proving to myself or to them that, hello, beep boop. I am proving it's the chat. I just didn't say beep boop.
I'm sorry, I don't have chat like in front of me for that second, so I was like, are you talking to your cat? What's
no, darn it, Dustin. I think I proved them wrong. And the developments that I am making, even in this moment where there is so much going on, I think I proved them wrong, and I stir them to start working with me instead of against me. And maybe the whispers fade from, oh, this sucks and it's boring and no one's going to want it, to maybe this could be better with this change. Or maybe here's how we can put a twist on this. It's still criticism, but it is constructive criticism.
Okay.
And their movements are more rhythmic. They are more in tune with what I am playing.
All right. And I think that you follow, and the thread is getting thicker and thicker, and it's now, at this point, it's basically becoming this scarf in your hand.
Love
as you
kind of girthy thread.
As you were like making your way across this bridge, and your movements are no longer feels difficult for you to jump from key to key. It now feels inspiring and fun, and how you felt when you used to write music way back when. You can't remember the last time you felt like this, but it is this thing that you wrote for Kaylee, but it is better, it is amplified.
It's got chords and arpeggios.
It's got chords and arpeggios and such things. And you I'm going to give you a plus, because that was such a good roll. I'm going to give you a +1 forward, which means that you can apply this to the value of your next roll. So basically, when Jen takes her next roll, she will add an extra 1 onto the value, essentially. Do you know what? I'm going to make it a +2 because that was quite impressive. Take a +2. So you have that, and I think that as you kind of like get to the end of this thing, and these creatures as soon as you start to get into this, they seem to kind of be sort of like taken back by that. It's almost as if you're sending like these like sound waves out, these ripples of sound outwards, and they're screeching and it hurts them. And they no longer fly because they are trying to cover their ears. And they sort of plummet into the water below around you. You reach the end of this bridge-like thing, and you pick up the scarf, and you hold it, and you are struck by this memory of Kaylee coming home with that scarf on instead of going out with that scarf on. Having had a long, hard day at work, and just closing her eyes, collapsing on the sofa, and just asking you to play her something. It's clearly been a really difficult day, and she just wants the sound of your music to comfort her. And it strikes you that perhaps in those times when you'd been insecure, you'd been looking at it a little bit the wrong way. Because she has always found comfort in your music. The music was never the problem. It's the tiredness that she has when she comes home from work. And with that, you do get your memento as well. Your memento is Kaylee's scarf. And you sort of step off of this bridge, and in front of you there's sort of like winding path, and you can just sort of see beyond a sort of mist a sort of wooden gate embedded in a hedge. And I will ask you a question now.
Okay.
If I can. A question now. Tis time for a question. Tis time for a question. If I can find said question. Yes. What do you think Eurydice would change about you, or Kaylee would change about you?
I think the answer depends on when you ask. If you had asked before all of this, I might have said in some level of bitterness that she would rather I just be fucking normal. But now I think in this moment, I think Cyril has realized that it's not she wants me to be normal or she wants me to be boring. She simply wants me to be successful and but realistic. I think she would want me to not have to sacrifice, or think I have to sacrifice, or think that the music has to be the only thing that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's your time for a question.
It's my turn for a question.
It's your time for a question. Question for Kaylee / Eurydice: how did Orpheus / Cyril fail you?
Ooh. Well, on full scroll. I think that everything that this comes down to is Kaylee's ongoing feeling that Cyril did not show up for her when she needed him most. It's the lack of support, or the lack of I guess it's a similar answer in a lot of ways. There's life beyond the music. There's things beyond that which first drew me to you that we need in order to establish a relationship and keep it. And it's, it's recognizing that, yes, at times it may come across that I'm just like want the bougiest food, but really it's just me expressing some level of needs of just, we could be having this if we compromise, if we like found ways to support each other, because at this current time Kaylee feels like she's doing all the compromising and all the sacrificing, and Cyril is doing none of it. And I think it's just that constant feeling of like, I always show up for you, I always support you, I always try and get everything and help you to achieve your dreams, and there is none of that in return. You do not show up for me. And the most obvious example of that is when I called your phone and you didn't pick up. And that is like, you didn't show up for me then either. Damn. And with that damning declaration, we're going to take a small break now, because we're just doing things a little bit differently this time around. So we're going to take a break between each scene, and have a little check-in, have a little stretch of the legs, drink some water, etc., and then get right back into it. Where we will be switching over now, and Jen will be controlling Kaylee's fate for a little bit. So thank you all so much for joining, those of you that have joined so far. Can't wait to come back and see how we get on with this, and
everything
see
will be fine
again soon. Everything will be absolutely fine.
Totally fine.
Bye. Hey everyone. Uh Jen is absolutely determined to just make me laugh right before every single time she then sends
I'm
me live,
very
so thank you
funny.
for
Laugh.
that.
See, I'm very funny. I can prove it.
Hey everyone. So welcome back to Follow Me Down, part 2 of our 3-shot. It's a 3-shot now. It was going to be a 2-shot, but then I almost died of hacking my lungs up last episode.
It's
so
a something shot.
we had to end early, but we are back, and we have faced many a trial so far, or at least Cyril and Kaylee have. We've just been sort of sat here in our chairs doing very little other than tell stories. But Cyril and Kaylee have. Cyril has just faced his second trial. And unlike the first, which I would say, mixed to little success, the second one better, a lot better.
Well, it was music
Thank
related.
you, dice
Of course,
gods.
you did better.
Thank you, dice gods, for that. Speaking of dice gods, where are my dice? Oh, there we go. And now it is Kaylee's turn to. Well, I guess we'll see what Kaylee's facing and where Kaylee is and what they're up to. But I'm guessing it's something chasm related, because that's what the play image. By the way, I made these and I'm very excited about them.
Fucking good.
Yeah.
I am never gonna get over how good you are at making these.
I need to do this kind of stuff more often because this is fun.
Yes,
this is fun to do. Yeah. So we are on to chapter 4 now, and there are 8. There are 8 of these chapters, hence why it's a 3-shot, and a sort of like epilogue at the end, which is the main mechanical crux of the game, based on how you do with the previous 8 chapters. So I guess let's get to it.
Let's fucking do it. So the last time we saw Kaylee, she was enjoying a very pulpy, very boring, bruised apple. And it's fine. It's fine. And she had just managed to get the key to the exit of this meadow-style feast party full of, corpses with ash on their plates. And, you have your apple just tucked into your pocket. It'll probably rot there.
No, it's fine. We're in magical fairyland or wherever we are right now. It's
Excellent
fine.
Excellent point.
I imagine that I'll have an apple tree by the end of this.
Just growing out of your pocket, exactly. But you are able to make your way through the gate, and as you pass through the gate and it closes behind you, the mists close around you briefly. And for a moment, you're not really entirely sure which way you're going, which way is up, which way is down, which way is forward, which way is back. Do you go in any direction in particular?
I think forward, or at least what I think my best guess at forward is.
Okay.
Just purely because Cyril always used to tell me to put my best foot forward. So that is what I do. And I think I also listen. Do I hear anything, or is there any sounds?
The first thing that you notice as you are stepping forward is the faint sound of wind. And it's not wind like brushing through the leaves of trees. It's not wind, like rattling the windows like it sometimes does. It's the wind that it's the kind of wind that sounds like it's high up. And you can't feel it. You can just hear it.
All right.
And as you move on and push through the mist, you can't quite pinpoint the exact time when the sensation shifts, but there was a point where your instincts told you that you were in an open space. When you were in the meadow, it was fairly open. There was nothing really closing you in. And at some point, that shifts, even though you can't quite see. And it shifts from a feeling of having somewhere to go to that feeling that you would get whenever you, for example, would be in the subway and going down a long corridor. Or as you weirdos call it, the tube.
The tube, yes.
Weirdos,
how dare you?
You are weirdos.
The tube in a channel. Anyway.
And the mists begin to fade. And almost out of nowhere, you are standing at the... You've seen the Lord of the Rings movies, right?
Seen what?
You've seen the Lord of the Rings movies, right?
Yes.
You are standing at the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. A large, not nearly as narrow. It is significantly not. It is not narrow. Similarly to that bridge, it doesn't have guardrails. It is sitting high above this waiting void of a massive something. One might even call it a chasm.
Oh, whoa.
Wow. Shocking.
What? Not a chasm.
Except the bridge is not empty. On the bridge, blocking the way, is a crowd.
Oh no.
Of these robed figures, all crowded around a large platform. There's no wheels that you can see, it's just kind of floating there, menacingly.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of this platform is the only source of light that you can see, which is a burning wheel. Which is, horrifyingly enough, not the most shocking thing about this situation. The most shocking thing about the situation is the man that is bound to this wheel. Contrary... Oh. Yes. And weirdly enough, wieldly enough? Get it? Because, like, wheel. Weirdly enough,
I still think that, like, gravelty, though accident.
It's really fucking funny. That was so funny.
It was an accident. That's what made it even funnier.
The crowd around him is arranged in a sort of procession, all surrounding this massive platform with this giant cat that I'm moving.
A giant cat too.
A giant cat too. Named Pippin. That's the most shocking thing, the man on the wheel. The most unsettling thing might be that there is not a single sound coming from any of these people.
Is there a sound coming from the man on the wheel?
So that's the funny thing. There is a sound coming from the wheel. You can hear the quiet crackling of flames. You can hear the cracking of the wood, the crackling of the fire. You can see the man does not appear to be making a sound. His mouth is open, almost in a silent scream.
Oh no.
There is no sound coming from him or from the procession, not even footsteps. And in some of these, within the crowd, some of them are holding up and carrying with them mirrors of various sizes. Some are hand mirrors, some are pocket mirrors, some are actually wheeling along floor, like standing mirrors. The kind that you're supposed to get ready in, but I think most people just kind of, stare at them.
Right.
And that is what you are presented with.
Well, that's quite the picture.
Oh, yes. And it appears that this procession is blocking the bridge. You cannot actually get around them.
I am going... I'm gonna go ahead and say that this situation feels uncomfortable. I'm gonna just put that out there. Do they seem to have noticed me, all these people?
The man on the wheel seems to have noticed you, considering he is facing backwards. The procession has paid you no mind.
And are they watching him?
Hard to say. As one thing you notice is that they are all masked. So you can't quite tell the direction of their eyes.
Great. I think I want to try to get closer to talk to this man on the wheel, but I'm a bit scared that the rest of this procession are going to do something. They don't seem to be helping him. So they don't seem to be his friend, but he seems like he's in distress, and I don't like that. So I think I'm going to don my shroud.
Okay.
And try to basically get closer to him without being, like, noticed, hopefully, by the masked people.
Okay. Go ahead and roll with philosophy.
Okay. Philosophy.
We'll say instead of escape, we'll say navigate an uncomfortable situation.
Need to navigate an uncomfortable situation. Oh, that.
And don't roll like shit.
What is my philosophy? Because I just rolled a 7. So what it is okay, but I need to know what my plus.
Oh, that's right. Because right. As long as it's not a minus, you're good.
Okay, it's a +1, so 8. I rolled an 8.
Okay. So you basically pull up your sweater or coat or whatever it is that you're wearing. Is it a sweater or a coat? Or is it a scarf?
It's a scarf. I'm wearing a scarf.
Okay.
And I think I put it over my head, kind of thing.
Yeah, so you go ahead and pull it over your head, and I think what you do is you maybe, like, pull the scarf over your mouth a little bit to kind of almost mimic a mask. Mm-hmm. And you are able to weave your way through this procession. However, you realize that there is a problem as you kind of transition into this form that you are taking to blend in. You notice that your apple sticks out like a sore thumb. So you can, if you want, you can drop it, or you can spend a little bit more of your focus and a little bit more of your energy concealing it and take -1 ongoing.
I'm going to try to conceal it. I want to keep hold of it.
Okay. How do you want to conceal it?
I'm going to try to tuck it into the scarf. Better.
Oh, it smells all appley. Okay.
Yeah. Get that rotting, horrible, pulpy apple. We're just going to pop
It's not
it, like...
rotting.
Yeah, I know.
It's just mediocre.
Squishy apple core. It's an apple core, isn't it? Because I ate the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like half an apple, I think, because you ate like some of it. I don't think you ate the whole thing, but I think you took a bite and the guy took a bite. Mm-hmm. But okay, yeah. So you were able to tuck it into your scarf, and it smells a little funky. But you were able to tuck it into your scarf.
So it's making me feel a bit unwell, which might
be
concentration difficult. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So you will take -1 ongoing until you drop the shroud.
Right.
But you are able to get right up to the platform. Are you going up to the platform, or are you getting up on the platform?
As close as I can get to this person without being consumed by fire.
Okay. So your best bet will be to either get up onto the platform or get up or go like kind of next to it.
I will try to.
And one thing you notice is that there are like none of the people in the procession are on the platform. So one thing I will give you for freebies is that it will be hard to blend in if you try and get on the platform.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and get next to it then.
Okay.
And I'm gonna attempt to talk to him.
Okay. And you see that as you are approaching, as you are moving, this man on the wheel, the rest of the the rest of the procession is for the most part paying you no mind. You are simply another one of the masked figures milling about. The man on the wheel, though, his eyes fix on you and follow you.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of lock onto you and stare at you as you come up next to him.
I'm gonna try to. Does he seem? So he's definitely still alive. He seems in pain.
Yes.
So the fire does seem to be like hurting him, like burning him.
Yes. There is no visible sign of, like your typical burns. But he does appear to be in pain.
All right. I am going to attempt to do what I did with the person that was very hungry, and try to reach out and be essentially like what I think that Kaylee feels like she's supposed to just help people, and this is how she makes her progress. So she's going to try to figure out what this how she can help this person. So she's like gonna ask him like what happened, what's going on here, how, like, can I get you down, will they attack me, like what do I do to help you?
Okay.
Are
you looking to show tenderness?
Yeah, I would say I'm looking to show tenderness at this stage.
Then you can go ahead and roll with pathos with that -1 ongoing. Because the apple is making you a little funky.
Oh no.
Oh no.
With pathos, you say. With pathos, you say.
I do.
I think this is not going to go well for me.
I think it'll be fine.
So I have a +2 for pathos.
However,
yeah, but even then, that's not enough. And I altogether, when I take away the 1, I rolled 5.
Oh no. Okay.
I think I might be about to take some harm.
Fucking incredible. So what I think happens is you go to speak to this man. And at first he doesn't seem to be able to hear you. Like, you can see him kind of like straining against the wheel to kind of like lean in and listen, but he can't quite hear you. So in an attempt to actually, get him to hear you, you kind of lean in a little bit to repeat the question, quote unquote, repeat the question. And you get too close. And one thing you can kind of tell is that this seems to be a proximity-based reaction of the wheel itself as you lean in and a tendril of fire lashes out from it and actually hits you. And I'm going to give you a harm.
No! Okay, yeah, that's fair. Okay. Ow!
The wheel is unrelenting. It does not appear sorry.
Okay, well that yeah. To be expected, but still.
You haven't lost his attention. He is still looking at you. He just couldn't see. He just seems to have not been able to quite hear you.
In which case, if I can't get him to hear me from where I am, I would like to pierce the veil and discern what is hidden and unseen. What am I not seeing here? And I still got my -1 ongoing.
You do until you drop the shroud.
Until I drop the shroud. Dropping the shroud is the last resort currently.
Okay.
I want to see if there's anything that I'm not seeing, or like some, like the stairs, there's a particular route to the wheel that I need to take. Is there something to do with these mirrors that I need to, like, what I'm trying to figure out what the absolute fuck is going on here, basically.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead and roll with philosophy.
Yes. That's better. Now, philosophy. I think I have a pretty good philosophy. If I remember correctly. +1, but then immediately back to -1. So I am actually at a 9. So not like great success, but
yeah. Okay, so you can.
I get to ask one.
You get to ask one, yes. And as always, like, feel free to modify the question as long as it's reasonably similar.
I guess what I really want to understand is the I like the question, what secrets are kept by those in this place? Like what is their, I guess, what is their purpose? They're kind of like masked and their purpose isn't clear. So I want to understand what these people are like. What are they doing? Why do they have masks on? Why are they holding mirrors?
Okay.
What are they doing here, basically?
Okay. So what I will say is, because you have your shroud up, because you are blending in, you are actually able to get close to some of these masked figures. And you can't see behind the masks. However, you notice something as you are looking closer at these mirrors. And at first, it's just a brief glance, and you think you've maybe lost your mind a little bit. But then you look a little bit closer, and you realize that in the mirror, obviously you are seeing yourself, but it's not yourself as you are now. It is yourself the day you walked into that hotel and you heard that music for the first time.
Ooh.
And as you are looking into this mirror, the view shifts a little bit as you lock eyes with yourself, and you see a third person view instead of yourself walking into that hotel lobby. Except instead of stopping to listen to the music, you go up to your room.
No.
And looking around at the other mirrors, you see other moments very similar. You see yourself the day you decided to accompany your family to that business convention, except you decided to stay home instead. You see 1,000 different decisions that you made, either that day or more recent, or the days leading up to that seem to have gone not the way that you remember them going. It seems that these people are holding possibilities.
I am going to drop my shroud.
Okay. So you go ahead and you let the scarf fall. What do you do with the apple?
I'm gonna take another bite from it.
Okay. Any goal in particular, or just flavor?
Flavor. I'm hungry. I don't like all these possibilities. I don't like looking at all these possibilities where I wouldn't have met Cyril. And right now that apple is the only thing that makes me feel close to Cyril, or that I might find Cyril. So it's almost like I feel like it's almost like an act of defiance in a way. It's like a kind of saying, I know this is not what happened, and I know what happened, and I met Cyril.
Okay. So we can leave that as flavor, or if you want, you can roll to stand up.
I was kind of thinking I was gonna stand up to those, because I guess that, like, does it look like the procession is like crowded enough that I wouldn't be able to like get through very easily?
It's crowded enough that it would take you a great deal of effort.
Yeah.
And one thing you will remember is that as you kind of got close to the platform, the crowd did get a little bit thicker.
Yeah, I'm gonna like have it as like I'm standing up to these possibilities that are showing themselves to me, and I don't know whether they're trying to present it as as if they're trying to tempt me into a world where I never met Cyril, or it's more that they're trying to convince me that it didn't happen. But either way, I don't like it, because I want to find Cyril, and all of this feels almost a bit like a distraction as well, in a way. It feels like everything here is designed to distract me in some way from the goal. So I want to stand up in that way that I take a great big bite of this apple, and I begin to try to move forward, and I basically say, tell me what I am supposed to do here, or get out of my way.
Okay. Go ahead and roll to stand up, and roll with poetry without the -1 because you dropped your shroud.
Hey, I dropped the shroud. I was like, oh damn, I'm gonna roll with -1.
Nope, you dropped the shroud. You're good.
Okay, that is not bad at all. What was it with poetry?
Yes.
Oh, poetry is my dumpster, as it were, -1. But I did roll a 10.
Okay. And that's with the -1?
With the -1, yes, it wasn't 11.
Okay, amazing, fantastic, gorgeous. I do want to remind you that you do have the option to hold that if you want to, but if you want to keep it...
But then it means I'm gonna fail, and this feels
yes.
a badass moment to not fail. I've not had like any real, like, if I'd have had like
Don't say that too loud.
Success on a smaller thing, then no, because I did this last time, and then I kind of regretted it, where I was like, oh, this was a really small thing to get a really big success on, and I wish I'd held that now. But this feels like a badass moment, so I'm gonna keep it.
Okay. So what do you do to stand up? Do you basically just kind of... What do you do?
I think I say, like, tell me what I'm supposed to do here. I think I'm going to try to get back up on the platform so that they can all hear me.
Okay. So as you get up on the platform, several of these masked figures start to move forward, and you can see hands reaching out towards you. And there's a couple things weird here. One, the hands are not what you would expect from creepy masked figures. They're not bony and horrible with long nails. You actually think you recognize one of your favorite shades of nail polish on one of them.
Oh.
However, comma, you see one of these masked figures turn sharply to look at the ones that are reaching for you, and their hands retract. And this single masked figure, there's really nothing separating them from any of the rest of the procession. But they move forward a little bit, and they are holding a small but ornate hand mirror. They look up at you from behind these blank, masked eyes, and they hold up the mirror to you. They appear to be offering it to you.
I will take it.
And this is actually the one that showed the moment that you were supposed to meet Cyril, but instead you chose to go straight up to your room. And you see that moment playing again. And you can see in the top corner of the mirror the slightest little crack.
And the masked figure is just looking at me?
Yes.
Do they all kind of look the same, these masked figures, or do they all look...
The masks are all different, but they are all the same height, roughly the same build. A very familiar build, actually. Looks a little bit like you.
Does it?
Just a little bit.
Oh, this...
About your height, about your build.
So I see the crack on the mirror.
Yes.
Do
it's very small.
Am I able to weave the strands to try to mend it?
You can certainly try.
I would like to try to mend it.
Okay, go ahead and weave the strands, rolling with Pathos.
Pathos, that's a +2, I think.
Oh, we love that.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen?
8 + 2 is 10.
All right. Then what would you like to do out of those 3 things?
Mend a broken thing. It's a broken mirror. I would like to try
a broken mirror. Okay. So you focus your energy into this glass, and at first nothing happens, and then you realize it's difficult to mend glass. One thing, though, that could help is heat. And you turn to this fiery wheel, and honestly, between the stand up and between the weave the strands roll, you rolled very well on both of those things. I think you are able to focus these little tendrils of fire that had been lashing out, and especially the one that lashed out at you and actually got you a little bit. You are able to focus it into a small point that essentially melds the bits of glass together again. And the result is not perfect. It is never going to be perfect. It is a little bit lumpy, but it is not broken anymore. And as you look into this mirror again, you see things happen the way they should have. You walked into that hotel lobby, you heard the music, and you stopped, and you listened, and you looked. And of course, because this is a drama AP, the third person point of view goes to pan over to the piano where Cyril had been sitting, and it doesn't quite make it. It does cut out and go back to the beginning of the memory just before you see Cyril. But it is now the same memory that you remember. And one thing you notice as you are examining the mirror is there appears to be a crack in the air the way that you came.
A crack in the air.
Crack in the air. And you realize as you are looking that you can no longer see the entrance to this place. You can no longer see the end of the bridge where you entered.
The only way is forward.
Perhaps. You can't see the end of the bridge on the other way either. But as you look both ways, there are cracks in the air on both sides.
I guess I still want to find out. This guy that's on the wheel, is he trying to talk to me still, or is he still looking at me, or?
He is still looking at you. He appears to be curious and a little bit sad. He has not tried to talk, but he does appear to be very curious.
I want to...
And also, I think, given the flavoring of how we did the Weave the Strands, I will give you a +1 forward. Because why not?
Oh, thanks. I think I would like to turn my mirror around to show all of these people in masks. And I want to... I'm gonna use the prove your love move. And I think what I want to do is I essentially want to implore with them that they not forget themselves, that they not forget Cyril and what really happened, and that they help me unbind this poor soul on the wheel.
Okay, go ahead and roll with passion.
Oh God,
passionate the fuck up.
Passion is not my strong suit.
But it's not your dump stat.
It's not my dump stat. It's a solid 0. Okay. What did I just say? It's a solid 0. Ooh, okay. So that is...
But you do have your +1 from the +1 forward.
+1. So it's a 10 because
oh, shit.
of my +1.
Okay.
9.
Okay. So, tell me about a positive memory of your love, of your time with Cyril, that might help in this moment.
I think that it kind of comes back to this idea of something that Kaylee has resented or has caused a lot of the resentment in their relationship, is that she doesn't feel like Cyril shows up for her in the way that she wants to. But I think that there was a moment where Kaylee was having some real issues. She's always been someone that kind of like bends over and bows to the whims of others, and I think that she was perhaps being at work, but perhaps by her sort of slightly bougier, posher friends, being belittled and looked down upon, and they're making all the calls about how things should go at a particular convention and maybe saying things that Kaylee doesn't agree with and Kaylee doesn't think are right. And she's not sure how to approach this situation anymore, because they're a link to a world that she misses parts of dearly, but they're also making her uncomfortable and she doesn't know how to stand up to them. And she opened up to Cyril about this sort of as she was sitting with him one night, in floods of tears, because they'd like said something particularly nasty, and it's all in good fun and we're just teasing, darling, but really it's not. She knows that. And she kind of talked about how she feels like she doesn't have the strength of soul to like argue with them or be spiteful back, or be anything that would shut them up. And I think that Cyril told her that actually that's one of the things that he loves about her, is that she's not spiteful like that, and she doesn't allow herself to kind of come back at a situation with that kind of energy. And that the best thing that she can do is to continue to be kind, and being kind isn't being weak. And I think that it like put her in a whole new, it made her feel differently about herself. And she kind of looks back on it now and she realized he did show up for me in a way that I didn't expect. And so this is her kind of trying to, she's not normally the person that stands at the head of the crowd and starts yelling orders and things like that, but it's not an order as such, or a kind of, she's not telling these people off that are around this procession off. She's telling them that she's trying to show them a kinder way.
Okay, and that is beautiful.
I know. Try not to cry. Hey, Mills.
So, Millie! Millie's perfect. Where's the Millie? Give me the Millie.
I'd love to, but she's like can't quite decide what she wants to do.
Oh, typical cat. Typical kitty. Come on, Millie, let's go. Come on, Millie.
Let's see your beautiful face. Come on, Millie. Come on. Oh my goodness. He's like doing this like windy thing. She does want to come up, but she's like trying to be difficult about it.
Oh, Millie, baby girl. What a cutie. Okay, so moving on. So you focus on this and you kind of project this and you kind of encourage this procession to do what you did to try and help this poor fucko.
Yeah.
And after a few moments, Millie!
I told you she'd come.
Millie!
But she just has to do it at her own pace,
Perfect.
at her own time.
Oh. After a few moments, one of them, Millie, one of them slowly climbs up onto the platform with you. And they are holding a fairly large, like, body length mirror, so they have to lug it up behind them. And again, these soulless, masked eyes stare at you and then slowly shift their focus to the man on the wheel. And you see their nose wrinkle in the same way that yours always does. That can't see their nose wrinkle, it's a mask, but we're gonna pretend. You kind of see something in their face twist a little bit as they seem to focus on this man on the wheel, and you see a second little tendril of fire, Millie face, snake out from this wheel and do the same thing that it had done with your mirror. And the crack in this one is larger, so it's a little bit. It takes a little bit longer for the fire to do its work, but it does. And after a few moments, you see them pull away with the mirror. And once again, it's not perfect. It is lumpy and a little bit messy, but the memory in it is correct again. And one thing you notice is that the wheel is just a little bit dimmer. And you watch as the rest of the procession begins coming up as well, one by one, slowly working at their own mirrors. Not all of them have mirrors, but the ones that do start coming up one by one. And it takes a painfully long time for some of them. Some of them have big fucking mirrors. But each of them leaves the mirror somewhere in your vicinity. So as these mirrors are repaired and as this wheel gets dimmer and dimmer, you are starting to become surrounded by piles of these mirrors, each of them now showing the correct memory of you and Cyril. Never showing him himself, but showing a lot of the context and the surrounding circumstances of those memories with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes down to, as you are watching all of this happen, the cracks in the air around on either side of this platform grow every time there is a new mirror that has been repaired. And as you are looking, you realize that they're not cracks in the air. They are cracks in what appear to be two massive... Floor to ceiling is a strong word because it is a chasm and there really is no floor that you can see. But there appears to be cracks in what appear to be massive mirrors on either side of this procession. And you realize the reason that you couldn't see the ends of the bridge is because the mirrors were extending the bridge into infinity. And the wheel is now pretty much out. There are still some embers, but the energy of the wheel has mostly been taken and put into these mirrors to repair them.
All right. Am I able to... How's the man of the wheel looking?
He's looking much less in pain. And now he's looking at you more expectantly than anything. And as you meet his eyes, he cocks his head at you a little bit. What are you waiting for?
Does he seem like he's asking me that in terms of like, are you gonna free me, or more like, are you gonna keep going?
A little bit of both.
I will reach forward to free him from the wheel.
Okay. How are you doing that? Are you breaking the wheel? Are you trying to untie him? He is bound, yes.
I'm going to try to break the wheel. That sounds powerful. I'm gonna try to untie him.
Okay. I'm trying to see. Is there a move that you want to use?
I guess it's more like, does he look like anyone I know?
He does not appear to look like anyone you know.
Okay. I guess it's like I'm trying to show tenderness if anything.
Okay.
It's not like I'd say weave the strands, but it's more like I'm trying to unweave the strands.
Right.
I'm trying to like.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, here's the thing. You can weave the strands if you want. We can flavor that to just be untie the fucking ropes.
Yeah, because it's more like I'm just trying to manipulate the fabric of the.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say if you want to weave the strands, you can weave the strands.
Okay. I'm gonna try and weave the strands.
I believe in you.
Do you? That's a 10.
Damn. Okay.
Oh,
I see what you're doing here. Okay. You want to keep it? You know.
But then I'm gonna fail this thing. This is gonna be a failure.
Keep it. You're gonna keep it in your back pocket. It's up to you.
I'm a choose to fail this one, because why not? Let's keep this interesting. I'm gonna choose to fail and hold on to this 10 for a later date, as it were. Right. Maybe I'm struck by some indecision of trying to undo what I need to do, but also I want to press forward. I want to find Cyril.
Okay. So what I'm gonna say is you go ahead and you attempt to manipulate the fabric of this place to will the ropes to undo themselves. And what can I do to you?
Make it hurt. I think there is a little list of things that you can do when fails.
Yes, I am looking at that list as we speak. I think
I can't actually find it, but
it's under hard moves.
Oh, that's right.
What would be an interesting thing to do here? Because, you know, when in doubt, do harm is great, but I want it to be interesting. So what can we do to our poor Kaylee?
Oh boy.
Just trying to help this fucko.
Oh god, these are horrible.
I think you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. You managed to free one hand out of his 4 limbs. You managed to free one hand. And he goes to use that hand to help you with the other strands. However, as I like to say, that throws his wheel off balance.
Oh no.
And he begins to roll. So, you have freed one of his hands. However, he is now rolling not as slowly as you would like toward the edge of this bridge. Though he is a very big man on a very big wheel, and you are a relatively normal-sized person. So what are you going to do?
Does it look like I can stop it?
You can try. It's a big maybe. He is a big man on a big heavy wheel. And remember that this wheel is still burning in cinders. It's not actively on fire anymore, but it is still quite hot.
does some of me feels like, what about the rest of the procession? What are they doing in reaction to this?
They're watching you.
Ooh, boy.
No pressure.
Well, there's a thing about being kind, but then there's also like, could saving this person risk my mission? How are they reacting on the wheel to it starting to roll away? Do they seem frightened?
Oh, they look deeply unsettled, and they at this point are looking at you with big sad save me eyes.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. But then that's the kind thing to do. Is it the right thing to do? I will attempt to save them.
Okay.
I caused this issue.
Okay. I think this might just be a prove your love with a significant risk. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you might be right.
What are you trying to do? Are you trying to grab them? Are you trying to stop the wheel? Like, what is your method of choice here?
I am trying to. I'm gonna like try to encourage those that are watching me to help me, because yeah, I might not be able to stop the wheel, but if all of us try to stop it, we can possibly stop it, I think.
Okay.
So I'm going to basically shout out to my fellow other Kayleys. Kaylee 39, you get him back.
Okay, go ahead and roll with passion.
I'm gonna roll with passion. I'm gonna basically try to yell out like, oh,
and don't forget, you do have that like that saved success.
No, I know. It is a 7.
Okay. All right. So on a 7 to 9, you hesitate or stumble. So tell me about a time that your flaws have led to strife with Cyril, which is funny because it mirrors the last question for Cyril.
Yeah. Tell me about a time that your flaws have led to strife with Cyril. I feel like it might be the antithesis to this, of just, yes, he showed up for me and he was telling me how he loved my kindness. And I think that it's inspired by that. Perhaps I did something. It's a memory of me maybe being too kind and giving someone too much hold over me in an attempt to, and not standing up for myself. And in our sort of like later on in the relationship, when things are starting to go a bit less good, it's like an argument that we had in which he sort of almost, he didn't yell, but he seemed frustrated. Maybe I came home, I was tired because like my boss had kind of worn me down again that day with something, and he and I was complaining about it, and obviously he must have had a bad day with his music, because like he's just sort of sitting on the sofa, there's no sheet music out, he's not writing, he's not doing anything, he's just sort of staring thoughtfully. And as I'm complaining and telling him about my day, he really looked at me and asked me like, why do you let people walk all over you? And it was just this moment of just, it was something that I'd held so on to him telling me how my kindness and was the thing that I loved, but then it was just like the opposite of that. Now he's asking something else from me,
Especially
something,
like now, which is the worst time to be asking that question.
yeah. And it just was this whole, it was like, it was almost like he thought I'd gone too far the other way now, and it just felt in that moment that like nothing I did could be good enough, because now even the things that he loves about me, he hates about me.
Okay. So I think that memory echoes in your mind as you realize that if you attempt to stop this wheel, if you try and help this man, there is a good chance that you will go right into that chasm with him. And maybe that's true, but you also recognize that there are more of, well, you around to help. So you try anyway. You put out this call for the other Kayleys to help. And together, all of you do manage to, at the very edge of the bridge, as this wheel is about to go tumbling over, you manage to redirect him just enough to stop the momentum of the wheel and to hold it in place. It is precarious, it is terrifying, but the wheel does stop and the wheel turns so that it is no longer at risk of rolling off. And you do see a couple of the Kayleys plummet into the darkness below. As the wheel shifting does push them off of the edge. Still silent. Just this silent drop. And you see a couple of those mirrors in that pile on the platform shatter.
Okay. At that, as I see them kind of wrestling to keep this man on the precipice and just about keeping him off, and I think that Kaylee finally does something selfish, and she begins to back away and head towards the next thing. Okay. Because she's realizing that while her kindness being kind and trying to help has the power to do great things, but it also sometimes comes at sacrifice, at cost, at the expense of herself even, and it's not always possible, and sometimes you have to be selfish to protect yourself.
Okay. I am actually going to ask you this instead of just telling you. Do you want Kaylee to take a keepsake in the form of one of the mirrors?
Yeah, I think she keeps the original mirror that was handed to her.
Okay.
If she had put it down on the pile, she grabs it again.
Okay. So she grabs that mirror and she goes to the far end of the platform where there is that second mirror blocking her path forward. And she can see little wisps of this blue-green light from behind it. And you can tell this mirror that is blocking your progress is very fragile. And it would really just take a little nudge.
I should try and smash through it.
And with that, she is able to break through this mirror. And you hear the crashing of glass all around you and the tinkling as these little shards hit the ground is strangely familiar. It sounds almost melodic. A little bit like the song that Cyril once wrote for you. As you proceed over these broken shards of glass and out of this area back into the mists.
Oh,
but you have another keepsake.
I have another keepsake, but at what cost?
Some other keepsakes.
Some other, yeah.
And that is the chasm.
Hey. All right. Okay. And we have questions to ask. You have a question to ask me now.
I do have a question to ask you now. Let me scroll to it. A question for Kaylee. How would Cyril describe your eyes?
Ooh. I think that Cyril has described Kaylee's eyes in a number of ways.
Poetic little fuck.
Because he's poetic as fuck. So I think that it's like, I think that he says that her eyes are the first thing that drew him in. And like that moment where their eyes met across the room. And what he loved about them was they just looked so sincerely and vulnerably moved by the music. So I think the biggest word that he uses to describe her eyes is expressive. Because he they're like a window to her mind in a lot of ways. It helps him to see everything that's going on in her mind. She's not good at hiding, or at least she wasn't good at hiding her emotions. She kind of had them worn all over her face, but especially in her eyes. I think that maybe as time has gone on, he used to be very like, oh, your eyes are looking like, you're giving me these eyes today, you're giving me your sad eyes today, what's wrong? Or like, you're giving me your puppy dog eyes, what do you want? But as time went on and they argued more and more, he didn't really talk about her eyes, and it just became like as if he couldn't see through them anymore, or he couldn't see what was going on in them anymore, and he just started saying, you look tired, a lot. And I think she misses that. She misses the variety of emotions that her eyes used to display for him, and now it's just constantly defeat.
Depressing. I love it.
Yeah, great. Yeah. I now have a question for you. And my question for you is, how would Eurydice describe your smile?
So much like Kaylee, Cyril would have multiple answers to this. If you ask him about the day they met, it would be a smile that could bring the sun out on a cloudy day. That smile that makes a bad day a little bit better. The smile that keeps her going. The smile that she would say kept her going on a bad day. Mm-hmm. And of course, as time went on, and as they got a little bit more jaded, and as they realized more and more that a lot of the ways that they planned to meet their goals and aspirations didn't line up. Similarly, it became, your smile is tired, or honestly, even that there wasn't really much of a smile at all anymore. So the unfortunate, sad, short answer to how would you describe Cyril's smile is that there is no smile to describe anymore.
Oh, that's sad.
It's so sad.
That's sad.
Shall
Shall we take a break?
Yes.
Shall we take a break?
We'll take a break.
Let's take another 5-minute break or so. And we'll be back. And we will be moving on to our next area. We'll go back to see how our dear friend Cyril is getting on.
He'll be fine.
I'm sure he's fine. And yeah, we'll be back very soon. So, bye. Hey everyone. We have written. Did it start with you saying that? I think it did.
Nope, it did not.
Hey everyone. Welcome back. We have just taken a little break, but we are now back to play the next stage of our game. Set in, as you can see, Book 5, The Garden. And this time I will be taking the role of the Fates, and you will be taking the role of Cyril, Jen.
Cyril, my boy, my musical boy.
Your musical boy. All right, so you've made it to the other side of this sort of strange stone floating structure that kind of made its way across a very long body of very rough, choppy water. And underneath terrifying harpy-infested storm clouds. And out the other side, everything seems a little peaceful again. And what's more, whereas the sort of around the river and kind of around this like choppy water area, everything felt very wild. Here, it looks very different. Nature is not being allowed to roam freely. It is clipped back, gardened, pruned, and you are faced with a sort of it looks like a hedge, and it has this sort of wooden door within it, and the door is slightly ajar.
So is it a little bit door, a little bit jar? Laugh. Anyway, okay.
Baby girl.
Baby girl. The natural response would be to go and check out the door. However, first I am going to go ahead and put on my scarf. Because it makes me happy and it reminds me of my girlfriend.
It smells like Kaylee too.
Yeah, and like it is a little bit of consistency and steadiness in a very strange world that I very much need consistency and steadiness in. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap her scarf around my neck and nudge the door the rest of the way open so I can assess what is in this maze and this creepy ass world that I have been thrust into.
All right, so you kind of open this fence, and what you find in front of you is a courtyard. It is this immaculate lawn, but just like everything else in this place, the colors are off. So the grass is more like a sort of purplish hue rather than green. You see this beautiful sort of fountain, like a water feature, surrounded by bushes and shrubs and flowers, sort of in these pots. It looks a little overgrown and old, but it almost sort of managed in as if that this is the kind of the aesthetic that the owner of the garden was going for, rather than it actually being overgrown.
Tasteful neglect.
Tasteful neglect, shabby chic, as it were. And yeah, it almost looks like this kind of like as if someone has tried to make something look wild and has not quite managed it. But it does give this almost weirdly like weirdly apocalyptic feel, because the garden itself is just silent. There's no wildlife around. And that's what it's kind of missing. For it to feel actually overgrown and actually like it was deserted and had been for the last 100 years or so, it would need more than just a few sort of random offshoots of leaves and vines. It needs that kind of like wildlife. It needs birds nesting there and mice in the various little holes and crumbling alcoves. In this courtyard, there's these stepping stones that lead you to sort of like a a wooden archway, and that again is embedded in another hedge, just like the one behind you. It's not a gate though this time, it's an archway, and you can see beyond it there is another hedge behind it. It looks like a like the beginnings of sort of a hedge maze, as it were. Outside of it, there is a sort of statue of a figure, again draped in ivy, as if it's been there for a very long time, but very little dust. And just sort of on the inside of this hedge area, there is a pillar, and a sort of a figure of a woman's head and sort of arms holding a bowl, it looks like, of some kind.
Are either of these figures designed after someone that I know? Perhaps my girlfriend?
No. Doesn't seem to be anyone you recognize.
Wow. Is there anything in the bowl?
In the bowl, yes. So you sort of walking towards this woman, and it is just the bust. It is just the bust of the woman, but the arms are still there. They're still holding on, but it is not anything below sort of the breasts, as it were.
Titties only. Got it.
It's only. You look in the bowl, and there is immediately something you recognize. It is a bracelet of Kaylee's, and you recognize it because you got it for her. It was one that you remember going to, and you never enjoyed going to these, but sometimes they were unavoidable. Going to a party of a friend of Kaylee's, just sort of a distant, almost, it wasn't even really a friend, it was probably almost a distant cousin, part of Kaylee's family. And Kaylee's family you did not particularly get on well with, but you showed up at these events with Kaylee because Kaylee said they were important to her, and you remembered sort of this gaggle of women, and they had been sort of talking about the various jewelry and things that their partners had bought for them, and Kelly hadn't said anything to you. She certainly never expressed that she wished she had something to show off, but it had stuck with you in a way that you felt compelled to provide something of that sort. So you had bought Kaylee a bracelet. It was by no means the expense that the partners of these various women had kind of like given, and it was a very small and very not costly at all, but it was very pretty, and it had on it sort of these the stones, they were definitely fake, but they were kind of like shaped in this way that almost looked like a little like vine with leaves on it, and there was one sort of like single butterfly on there that was like kind of, there's these little like, again fake but very sky blue like crystals kind of embedded along it. It was a very pretty bracelet nonetheless, and she had loved it when you'd given it to her, and you remember it's such a distinct design that you remember giving it to her, and you remember her liking it.
And it's the same bracelet.
It's the same bracelet, absolutely.
Okay. I think while we are on a streak of, we have a nice, we are grabbing things of Kaylee's, I'm going to very carefully take the bracelet out of the basin, and examine it and make sure, or not make sure, but see if it appears to be the same one. Like, not just the same design, but like the actual same bracelet.
Yes, it is. You kind of look around it, and there was this sort of imperfection on the metal, on the underside of the bracelet that you remember, and it has that same imperfection.
Then I will slip the bracelet on, if it fits. I will slip the bracelet on, and politely thank the statue bust, because I have learned that sometimes things in this place, see or hear more than they let on. So I will thank the statue, and kind of look into this, what appears to be hedge maze. Take a look both ways, and I remember that Kaylee always had this thing. This thing that made her great at mazes. She would say, follow the right wall, and you will eventually hit the exit. So I will follow her advice, and I will start following the right-hand wall.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you sort of like, you're at this, and it is like you're facing this statue of this woman, and there's a left and a right that you can go, and both seem to sort of disappear around the corner. As you sort of look left and look right, then you look back briefly to this basin. The position of the statue has changed in front of you.
Oh, good.
Terrifying. It is now. She now is still holding the bowl with one hand, but the other one is to her lips, like this, in a sort of shushing gesture, with a small smile on her face. And you get this sort of like brief flashback of a memory of you attending another party with Kaylee. This time she's wearing the bracelet, but she pulls her sleeve down to cover it as you enter the party together. And it feels as if this statue is trying to say, keep it hidden.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe. Okay. Then as I begin to enter the maze and follow that wall, I will do the same thing that I remember Kaylee doing and pull my sleeve over the bracelet. And I kind of do that thing where I hold my sleeve in the palm of my hand, so it doesn't slip back up again. And I will do that on both sides so that it does not appear that I am hiding something in one hand and not the other.
Mm-hmm. All right. You find, as you sort of like head to the right and you move round the corner, you hear the sound. You kind of turn to go around the corner and you hear the sound of grinding stone. And you look back briefly as you are about to head down, and the statue that was originally at the very front of this maze, sort of guarding the entrance, is now peering round the corner at you, almost as if to watch you go. You look forward and you can see this hedge kind of walks down this really long, almost impossibly long stretch. And there are two more statues sort of either side. They're not moving or anything like that. They don't even appear to be looking at you, but something is off with the statues in this maze.
Yes, they move and you don't look at them, and then they kill you, and they send you back in time, and then you die.
Hold up.
Hold on, wrong show.
Hold up, wrong show.
Or is it? Okay. Is there a pattern to what these statues look like? Are they all the same? Are they all different?
No, you don't recognize the faces, really. In fact, a lot of the faces are very like worn. Again, it seems to be part of that like aesthetic. What you do notice though is they are looking at they seem to be dressed in quite modern clothing. So they almost have this look of like that sort of like ancient or like Renaissance style like statue. But the clothing that they're wearing, they've got like Rolex watches on and things like that, and it is very extravagant like clothing. You can see it's like very posh, very like designer labels and designer cuts and things like that. If they were to be real people, they would be wearing a lot of money on them.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And they seem to be sort of staring straight ahead, and not looking at you currently.
Okay. Okay. So one thing that has always bothered me is that Kaylee is used to a very luxurious lifestyle. One that I am very much not used to. And there has been a lot of insecurity on my part about being able to support her in that lifestyle. The answer is, of course, that I can't. There is really nothing that can support that lifestyle that I can provide. And it's been a point of almost guilt or shame on my part that I can't give her that. And one thing that she always said that stuck with me is that she didn't pick me for my money, obviously. She fell in love with me for me, not my wallet. And she always said, it doesn't matter what they think. What matters is that we love each other. So chin up and we will love each other. So I will follow those instructions, and I will proceed forward, not hastily but confidently, and chin up, just going straight forward.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Keeping a little bit of an eye on those statues because they're creepy as shit. But
are you making a particular move when you do this?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I feel like it's almost like you're taking a bit of a risk. You don't know what statues are doing.
Yeah, that is true. I don't know what they're doing. And that was kind of the closest one that I could think of, because I'm not fleeing. I'm not asking for help. I'm not really charming them. I'm just going. I could definitely see just kind of like taking a risk by, I guess, daring them to do what they're gonna do.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, roll with passion then.
Everything's gonna be fine. Let's see. How are my passion? My passion is a +1. That's not bad. Let's see how this goes. Everything will be fine. That is an 11.
An 11. Well, I mean, I feel like you've almost already done it. Like you've almost already described a positive memory of your love.
Yeah.
Of Kaylee kind of saying that, and you begin to move forward, and I think the first thing you notice as you walk past this first statue is you do hear, and it's almost it's almost like a mumble. It's a barely heard mumble of a voice, not a voice that you recognize, but just like as if someone is whispering to someone else in a crowd. And you hear someone say, "What is that on your wrist?" And you walk past the next statue, and it's a similar thing, like just somebody kind of mumbling, just almost barely perceptible, and just, it's hideous. And it's kind of like you look back at them, and they're both looking at you now, and they're both kind of in this position looking at you, and that one from the beginning is now peering round the corner again still. So he is following you for sure, and there's these sort of two others that they haven't got down from their pedestals or anything like that, but they have moved, and it's very clear that the statues in this maze can move, and that you didn't hear you didn't see their lips moving or anything like that. It's only when you're kind of not paying attention to them that you can hear these noises. Otherwise, the place is silent. And it almost sort of, it feeds into your insecurities. And again, you're hit with that memory, and it's interesting because it's a memory that has like helped you in terms of like, you know, pull the sleeve down, hide the thing. But it is also a memory that hurt, because you were going to that party excited that you had bought this bracelet for Kaylee, and you had noticed her try to hide it as she walks into this party, and that's hurtful. You're excited for her to show it off to her friends, but you remain strong, and you tell me how this memory sort of banishes that insecurity that comes from that moment.
I think a lot of the reason that she had pulled her sleeve down that night, I don't think initially he would have mentioned it in the moment, but I think they had talked about it later, and he'd been like, "Hey, like, that kind of hurt," and she had come back with, and it wasn't a perfect answer. It by no means was a perfect answer. It wasn't. There really was no perfect answer to that situation. But she had come back with something along the lines of kind of a reminder of the same thing she had told him before, which was, I like it. It's not about whether they like it, and I wanted to have a nice night with it without those people ruining it by chuckling or having a joke at your expense. It was, to her, it had been about having a nice time with something that I had given her,
mm-hmm.
without having to deal with the pointless judgment that didn't matter anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I am hanging on to that memory and hanging on to the knowledge that, yes, it wasn't seen at that party that much, but it was seen every day after that.
Mm-hmm.
She wore it every day after that. She would wear it all the time, and it wasn't just about that one party.
And in her own way, she was trying to protect it. She was trying to protect that thing and trying to protect you.
Yeah.
Um,
she just wanted to have a nice night, and she wanted to wear it even if she didn't show it.
All right. You do that, and you head right and right and right again. And you make sure to kind of like really follow this maze. The one thing I will say is at every corner, you find there are more and more statues, and they are all starting to follow you now. You can hear that grinding stone. Their faces are no longer sort of light-hearted mockery as you make your way through the maze. Each corner you turn, they seem frustrated. They seem angry. You are not falling prey to the horrible things that they are saying, and that is turning them hostile. You reach a point probably about sort of halfway through the maze where you are in this sort of, again, you emerge into this sort of almost like courtyard. It's a much smaller one with a sort of single tree growing in the middle, and you can see at every turning, and obviously you were probably planning to go right, there are statues in all of them, and they are all looking at you. There's an overwhelming amount of statues following you now. It's probably about 15 behind you.
Incredible. We love that.
Yeah. What would you like to do at this point? Because you can continue to go right and you can continue to go as you are. But they are turning, they're no longer trying to fluster you at this point, or trying to affect your mood, or trying to reach on your insecurities. They're starting to turn hostile. They're starting to look angry. Their teeth are bared on a lot of them. And the things that they are shouting are starting to get a little bit more violent, because it's no longer these sort of coy whispers of like, oh, look at that awful thing you're wearing. It's now becoming like a sort of cacophony of just like, really the kindest thing to do would be to take it off you, to stop you wearing that awful, embarrassing thing that you have on your wrist right now.
I think what I will do is I will walk directly up to the one that is standing in the way, or like standing closest to where I was going to go next. And I'm going to look it straight in its ugly marble face and its ugly marble teeth. And I'm going to say, you call off all of your nasty ass friends. Whatever I am wearing because I love my partner. And that is something for all your fancy trinkets and jewels and Prada clothing. You will never understand what it feels like to wear something just because the person you love bought it for you. So you call off your friends and you move.
All right. Well, what kind of move do you think that feels like?
I think it might be a lash out and contempt.
Either a lash out and contempt, or I would also make an argument for stir the heart.
Mm-hmm.
In that you're attempting to kind of like, it's not necessarily through song or verse, but you are maybe
oration counts.
Yeah, like I feel like, yeah. Either way, lash out and contempt is definitely one that you could also go for.
I think the motivation is more lash out and contempt.
All right.
I think the motivation behind it is more fuck you and less, No, fuck. So I guess we roll with passion and see what happens.
Yes. See what happens.
Let's see. My passion is +1. That's not bad, right? What could possibly go wrong? Oh well, it could certainly be a 5. Is what could happen.
Oh boy. Well, that's a fail.
It sure is.
It sure is. Gosh, we're back here again.
Oh yes.
Oh yes. Again.
Everything's fine.
Okay, let me have just a real quick look at hard moves because I want to pick a good one.
Love a good hard move.
What was it? I might have to give you harm just for that. I think that you do take a harm.
Okay.
Because I think that they you try to, lash out at them in this way, and really try to stir this emotion of like, I'm not afraid of you. And I think that all you hear back is laughter. Just raucous. Like, they're amused. They're not in the least bit frightened by you. And for a moment, you are not yourself. You are just briefly in Kaylee's shoes. Alone, surrounded by people who are laughing at you. People that are supposed to be peers, people that you're supposed to be on even ground with. And they're looking down on you and laughing at you and surrounding you. Just for that brief moment, and you're filled with insecurity and you're filled with you're upset, very upset. When you come back to yourself, you this lead statue has kind of grabbed onto you, and their faces are like twisted now. They're smiling, but they're smiling way too wide. They look like that mask, like the comedian mask, where it's just like really
horrifying.
Wide smiles.
We love it.
Horrifying. And they pull the bracelet from you. So you take 1 physical harm, and they have the bracelet. Now, they're not away yet. They're holding on to it. You could still try to get it back.
Yeah. I think this is the part where I lash out in contempt. I might just fucking tackle a statue. I might just fucking tackle a fucking statue. Because that is my bracelet and I want it back.
Alright. Yeah, we can roll to lash out in contempt again, sure. Or would it be...
It could be...
Yeah, I think lash out in contempt.
Yeah, because I think, again, like, the motivation is more like, hey, fuck you, give that back, than anything else. Yeah, so let's see what happens. What could possibly go wrong, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, that's better. That's a 9.
9. Okay. So you do manage it, and you do harm back to them in response.
Yes.
You reveal a weakness about yourself. You harm an innocent bystander. You lose or damage a keepsake. I think that you managed to get this bracelet back. In the process, I'm not going to. I think you almost damaged this bracelet trying to get it from them. And I'm going to let you choose. You can either damage the bracelet, but you still get to have it, but it's, broken. Or you can, in the process of getting it back, you can keep the bracelet intact, but you reveal to them what you might consider your biggest weakness right now, which is that you are missing a finger and are in some way vulnerable.
I think I would rather reveal that weakness.
Okay. So you manage to get the bracelet back. And as you do, and you sort of pull back from it, you show your hand kind of raises and you show that you are missing a finger. And these creatures, whatever they are, they feed off of insecurity. They feed off of the things that make you feel not whole. And the moment that they see that you're missing a finger, the insults change. It's no longer talking about the ugliness of the bracelet. It's talking about the fact that you will never ever be able to be a piano player again without that finger. And what good are you without your music? What could she possibly love about you without that to keep her tied to you? Because it was always about the music. The music was going to be the thing. As soon as you could just get that song out, and as soon as you could make it work, then you were going to be able to provide Kaylee the life that she wanted. And now you can't play the piano. So what can you offer her? And that is what they begin to yell, and it gives them a sense of power that you watch as they begin to move in front of your eyes. Dust begins to kind of like fall from their joints, and it's janky and it's not quick, but they are beginning to head towards you.
Terrifying. Okay.
We love a terrifying statue situation.
We do. We love some terrifying statues. I'm going to, and again, similarly to the moment on that bridge, there is going to be the strong instinct to just run. To just forget the follow the right wall because it'll inevitably lead me into a dead end. There is going to be the instinct to just run. I think I am going to force myself to continue following the strategy that I have been following a little bit faster, a little bit more urgency than there was initially, but I am going to force myself to continue moving in a calculated manner. Because I have gotten this far under Kaylee's guidance so far. And I am going to trust her to see me through this.
Okay, so you're taking a risk here.
Yeah.
And you are literally relying on your love and trust in Kaylee right now to see you through all of this. So it's going to be a prove your love roll.
Yeah!
We're going to have to roll with passion.
Passion's decent. Passion's not bad. Let's see how this goes. It can't be worse than a 5, right?
Don't say.
It is a 9.
A 9. Okay. All right. So on a 7 to 9, you hesitate or stumble. I need you to describe a time that your flaws led to strife with your partner. And then I will tell you what it will cost for you to continue your journey.
I think honestly there was a moment before this whole bracelet situation where my insecurity led to, for lack of a better word, a minor tantrum where I essentially suddenly got hit with all this insecurity about how all of Kaylee's friends were off leading these lavish lifestyles bankrolled by, their parents or their partners, or their trust funds. And I just felt like I had nothing to offer her. And she actually had gotten angry, because she felt like I was almost giving up on us. Just with that insecurity and that persistent feeling that nothing would be good enough. And that had actually led to a bit of a fight just about the mentality of it all. And that is both that memory of how my raging insecurity led to that strife, but also how I'm getting out of it now.
All right. I think that I am going to I'm going to let you escape this. And essentially it's going to be by you're meticulously doing this, you're avoiding these statues. But what happens in the process is you are going to be I actually I just thought about, and you might know, did you use your +2 for a roll? Because it was supposed to be for your next roll, and I don't think you
shit.
Do you want to use it now?
Yeah.
You did get it, so
Yeah.
I just suddenly thought about it, and I was like,
I fucking forgot.
I don't think you used that.
I didn't because I fucking forgot.
Because well, that's fine. So you want to use it now? So that will make it
it's an 11 now. I do it.
All right. So you manage it. You manage to escape. And I think that the way it works is as you kind of have this moment of you're just sticking to your guns. You're fueled by this maze has had you a little bit lost in your emotions. You've had moments of I trust in Kaylee, I trust in our love, I trust in our memories, our positive memories. You've also had a lot of negative memories and a lot of insecurities drawn out of you, and this particular negative memory of when you let it get the best of you, and you realize though that there has been one consistency throughout all of this, and that is right, whether it was fueled by negative feeling or positive feeling, it has always been Kaylee has been the consistency in all of it. Even through all of the wonderful times, even through all of the arguments, she has remained at your side, and she has been a strength for you to draw on, even when it's been difficult. And it brings you back to that decision that you made to take her to go and see this meteor shower was purely because of that was the thing that was holding you onto this. Was she's still with me, there's something here that she sees, and there always has been, no matter what, things have got worse and worse and worse, but there's always been something that she'd hold on to. And even without a finger, surely she would still find something, because that's who she is as a person. And so that consistency and that strength and that continual belief that Kaylee will be there at the other end, no matter how much shit you have to go through to get there, is the thing that allows you to have strength, and it diminishes their power. They start off sort of racing after you, and after a while they seem to get tired. Their movements become jankier. Then they start to go back to just being able to move when you're not looking at them. They look defeated, they look tired, and they quieten. And you manage to find the end of the maze. And you don't, I was going to give you another harm, but you don't take another harm in this case. And we'll leave you there. We'll leave Cyril there. We do have questions. Did you want to quickly do the questions, and then
let's do questions.
Finish off.
Yeah.
For today.
Let's take a look at these questions.
Let's do it.
Actually, the same question. Or are they?
No. So my question to you on the garden is, and I think it's the same question. They start to align to be the same question now. So what, Orpheus, is your most prominent feature?
I think the answer...
It's a very odd wording for that.
It is. It is very strange wording. It could be physical or it could not be.
I just want to say like my bulbous nose, but like
I was gonna say my dick.
Wow.
Look.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. We're getting to the end of our tether with this one.
I think it would honestly be... I think it would have to be just my unwavering dedication.
Interesting.
I sometimes to a fault. It could be dedication or it could be stubbornness. Depending on who you ask and when you ask and what you ask it about. But I think it is a sense of a willingness or a need to see things through. And we'll go ahead and flip that question on Kaylee. What is your most prominent feature?
Well, what's interesting is the first thing I thought of for Kaylee was the exact same answer, which I think is kind of poignant. It's like an unwavering dedication despite all of the horrible things that are thrown her way, all of the things that make her uncomfortable or make her sad or make her angry. She is steadfast in her ability, no matter how much it's wearing her down, to continue. And whereas they might call it stubbornness, for Cyril, they might call it sort of submission in Kaylee's in Kaylee's case. But I think it's just continual. There's no give. Even after the arguments, she always comes back after her walks. So I think it's really interesting that they have the same answer.
I think it's cute.
It's adorable. Maybe
it's adorable.
Normally these questions are just us going, that's sad at the end.
No, but this one's kind of cute.
This one's kind of cute and a little bit hopeful. How much harm does Orpheus have right now? Is it
3?
3? Yeah, and Kaylee has 1. Okay.
Everything's fine.
That's fine. And we will end part 2 there. at the end of the garden, having finally out-stubbornness, I guess, these statues, as they sort of return to their positions and their pedestals. I think the moment that you get to the exit and you cross that border, you turn and they all just sort of, their faces become blank and they all just turn and march back as if to go and head back to their spaces.
Now I have my bracelet.
But now you have your bracelet. It's not been damaged. You are hurting a little bit. You're at number 3 with your heart.
It's fine. I
well,
got 3 more if I really have to worry.
Is that how we should be viewing this?
Sure, yeah, why not?
Sure. I mean, I feel like we could, stand to lose a heart maybe, but sure. And with that, we'll see how we get on in next week in our final part, and we will play through to the end and see how we do. So, thank you everyone who has joined us. It has been wonderful to play this game. We've really enjoyed it, and we will be continuing next week. Jen, I was about to say, I think I did this before. Plug yourself.
Say something else. Hi, I'm Jen. I am Jen Burb on in most places on the internet. Other than that, I am a fairly unassuming person. Kat, go.
Oh, great. Well, thank you for that. I thought I'd have more time.
Nope. Get fucked.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kat. I'm otherwise known as the Law Mistress, or Law Mistress 93. I'm a writer, I'm an editor, and hello, Rara. You've come just in time for us to finish up. I'm also a Twitch streamer, believe it or not. I've been kind of playing more duets games. This is what this is. We're currently playing, or have just finished, a second part of a song to fix what's wrong, which is a Follow Me Down 3 shot that we are playing, and we're very excited to see the finale next week. Gorgeous statue imagery or terrifying statue imagery?
Yes, it can be both.
That is the question. We will pick this up next week. I don't really have huge amount. Oh no, I actually do have things to plug. Plug
yourself, Kat.
Don't.
You started it.
I will be we're going to be raiding Hoard of Tales this weekend. I will be appearing on Hoard of Tales to tell a very sad story set in space about grief, loss, and other things. That will be for our game of Clean Spirit, which is a game by Cassie Mothwin, and it is a very pretty game. So please come along and join for that. That will be 3 p.m. GMT, and I cannot remember what that is in EST, but earlier. 4 hours earlier? 11? Yeah, 11 EDT, because it's daylight saving times over where you are. I'm also playing a lot next week. I'm playing Insatiable Cravings with Natalie on Thursday over on this channel. I will be doing the finale of this game with Jen on Friday over on this channel. And then on Sunday, the 24th of March, we'll be marking the return of Thorosian Odyssey Season 3, which I'm very excited. And I will be beginning, this is an exclusive for anyone that is listening in on this stream, I will be beginning with Astrea's story, because I will be doing in a row 5 solo sessions of this game, with each of the characters to kind of try to reintroduce the characters to people, and get people really excited about Thorosian Odyssey. And I'm very excited to get back into this story, because I've missed this game.
I have missed this game too. I'm very excited to get this back up and running.
Astrea is, of course, played by Jen. So
I don't know who the fuck that is.
To see just me and Jen on stream together again. Then come along next Sunday, on Sunday the 24th. And again, that will be 3 p.m. GMT. So I'll be starting to put ads out and things for that this week. But yeah, exclusive for all of you watching. Cool. Let's raid Horde of Tales. And let's get out of here. So say bye, Jen.
I do what I want.
Okay, don't say it then. Cheerio, everyone. Have a lovely time zone.
Bye.